Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not an expert. Do your own research. Okay, so today I'm just going to review a few altcoins. I'm going to look at some altcoins that I think look pretty reasonable relative to the market. And to be clear, pretty much every altcoin is down like 90%. So that's like, take it with a grain of salt. Even something that's strong like BNB was down like 80% or something like that. 70% at the bottom. Still better than most altcoins, but still down 70%, which is, it's still quite bad. So I marked some levels here for BNB. BNB held up better than other altcoins, and I think that if you think about it from a fundamentals perspective, capital will generally go towards safer assets in a relative manner. So in bad times, that is. So like, BNB flourished in the bear market, obviously back in like 2018, 2019. And it was one of the few coins that did really, really well, if not one of the best returns from an alt BTC standpoint. And it makes sense too that people would find comfort in investing in BNB, not necessarily just for the use case of it, but for the fact that you are essentially backing CZ and Binance. Binance obviously is one of the biggest, if not the biggest players in crypto right now, has like tons and tons of money. So, they're going to make money with trading volume and everything else, but it should be like a quote unquote safer asset than many other altcoins. Still not better than Bitcoin or anything like that, probably, but I haven't checked the BNB BTC chart, but it's still something to note. Anyways, what you can see back in the move up in February of 2021, we saw this wick down, and generally speaking, these wicks can provide very good SR levels, and you'll see that price usually likes to remember these wicks. And it works in both directions too. You can also see here this wick that was formed at the peak of it. Price still tapped it again in April and still acted as resistance. And once again, the wick down in May of 2021, this kind of area was an area of support. Again, later on in May of 2022, so a year later. So, these kind of wicks are generally good SR levels that work in both directions. Here's another example here where price had this bearish retest in May of 2021, and then it came all the way up again in June and obviously broke down. So, as I said, these wicks provide good SR levels, and this is no exception here. This wick back in February of 2021 provided to be the short-term bottom here that we saw right around 190 or so. Now, what are we looking at in the short term for BNB? Like, this is by no means a bullish market structure, in my opinion. It's still quite bearish. It's still still lower lows and lower highs. It is looking a little bit better on the lower time frame charts, though. This type of price action that we're seeing is still a little bit different than what we saw back in May, and the EMAs have recovered. They've recovered a little bit relative to what it was in the past. Now, with that said, the EMAs also looked okay back in before the breakdown as well. Like, if you look back here, like the EMAs also looked okay. Everything was clumping together. But I think it's also important to note that the EMAs were still strong resistance, all of them, back then. Whereas if you look now, some of these EMAs have flipped support. So if you notice back here, you'll notice all these EMAs are kind of acting as resistance, where the EMAs are right trading above the price. Whereas here, you're seeing that these EMAs just flip bullish for the first time in quite some time, meaning that price is higher than the EMAs. The last time we saw that was really kind of this March time period where price had a bearish retest. So when you see stuff like this, that doesn't mean that usually there's going to be some sort of trend change on lower time frame charts, but it's still important to take the overall context that this is a bearish market structure and that price is just going to make a lower high probably. Like, I'm not calling for any sort of like big time reversal by any means. So This is the local resistance area around June 25th that was set. It's also going to coincide with the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. So I'm guessing we see some sort of slight pullback. Maybe price goes up here and then comes back lower. And the reaction from that point will actually be really important to look at, in my opinion. I think that it's going to be interesting to see where the low is set after that. But for now, the 4-hour looks actually okay, but it's also important to take into account the overall high time frame. The overall high time frame chart is still just bearish to me, in my opinion. And I think we just have a lot of work to do before this actually becomes a bullish chart. I think it's more likely that price just chops around for a while, maybe comes back up. It can grind as high as like the low 300s and then like come back down again. Price action like this is more sustainable in terms of an accumulation standpoint. I don't personally believe that we'll have a V-shaped reversal. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on BNB. I do think it's better than a lot of other coins, but again, that's not really saying much. Let's take a look at Ape Coin. Ape Coin was a coin that obviously, I actually think Ape has a pretty decent fundamentals. Like I think Yuga Labs is like doing it right. Similar to BNB, I actually think that this one looks pretty reasonable on lower time frame charts, meaning the 4-hour. We haven't again seen these EMAs really flip bullish for quite some time. You can see the long downtrend that price had large gaps between the price and the EMAs. Usually that means that something is going to break down, generally speaking, the price. And once again, you saw like a large gap between price and the EMA all the way on the downtrend. And when you see large gaps between EMAs and price, you'll notice too that usually the first test of the 200 EMA, this red line, is resistance, and that's actually what happened here, where you see this like kind of large gap here between price and this EMA. So when price initially taps it, that's usually the first tap is usually pretty bearish. So price pulled back. But we're now seeing another tap of this 200 EMA, and when you start to see a lot of consolidation where price is like going like this and then the EMAs are all starting to clump together, that's when you can see a potential trend change, similar to what we saw just back there on BNB, where the coin price flipped to the EMAs. This is a similar situation where the EMAs are now turning bullish for the first time in a while. And it's looking pretty decent all around. Anyways, as I said, on lower time frames, it still looks good, but on higher time frame charts, I don't really think that this is really, this isn't really anything to note, in my opinion. Like, sure, we might get a small move up, but there's still just like a lot of resistance to be had. There's a lot of ways you can play this. You could potentially just wait for a flip of this SR level right around $6, and then maybe target higher levels such as $8. But again, that's really ambitious, and it's really assuming that Bitcoin isn't going to shit the bed, which it has already. Let me briefly actually just go into Bitcoin too, because I really want to talk just really quickly about I reviewed a lot of Bitcoin stuff the last 2 days or a few days. I really want to emphasize that in order for these altcoins to play out bullishly, you need Bitcoin to basically be in a ranging or up scenario. So a situation where like price, continues to grind up a little bit, pulls back, and then goes higher. I think that we could potentially have like a mini little alt season here where alts do well for maybe a week or two. But if Bitcoin does make another leg down, like if it like kind of hits this area, can't flip to that 20,300 and like starts nailing these lows, and these altcoins are all going to get obliterated. So you're really looking for Bitcoin to basically be in a ranging type of price action, or just up, and then assuming that altcoins will probably follow. So right now it is looking okay. Like as I said before on multiple streams, multiple videos, I really am looking for a break of this 20.3K level and then higher. It is looking okay right now in the lower time frames, but I would be wary. If it does flip it, then kind of this 21.7K area, and then 23K would be the next areas up. But yeah, that's just a very quick note on Bitcoin. Okay, so let's go to Solana. Solana, I currently have a position in right now. Um, Solana looks okay to me personally. I got long right around this 32.50 kind of area when price was chopping around. And the reason I got long was that when I see this type of tight price action, it looks like it's forming a low, like a decent low. And what I mean by decent low is when you see like kind of little volatility and choppy price action like that. It's not super high volatility like we saw back, like, for instance, in June, early June, or even kind of when it was forming this bottom around middle of June. Um, yeah, that's it's not this type of price action that we saw back in middle late June is different than what we saw in early July, where this looks like it was a low forming. So I bought in around the mid 32s, and I already took profits, 2/3 of my profit, right around this 382 level, the $36 level. I will take more profit at 37, 38, and then I'll pretty much be out by that time. But happy to hop back in if price is looking decent. I will be looking for shorts around 42 again, just because I think that I'll at least get some sort of profit. I think if it goes up to 42, I think it's a temporary pullback at a minimum is going to come. So maybe price grinds up and then comes back down to 39 or something, and then potentially goes higher. I don't know, but I think that at least for a scalp, a short will be decent there. But that's kind of how I'm playing my Solana trade right now. Still in it right now, still in profit, and it is looking pretty decent. But again, it's going to really depend on Bitcoin, in my opinion. Let's look at DOT. Okay, so DOT was a shitcoin that looked really good at one point, and it had so much hype, but then it just died. So everything kind of died. It went back all the way to this kind of this consolidation area at the end of the bull market for altcoins in 2020, where price chopped around for quite some time. It went all the way back to these levels, this demand zone right around the $7 area. I view $7 to $4 as kind of this really interesting accumulation area that should theoretically hold, and price is kind of nailing that area now. Don't really know if this is quite the quote unquote bottom. We're seeing price make this wick down and price is trading below it. And there's probably some bullshit level back all the way back in August, all the way back there. That's why this current level here is decent. Let's take a look. I'm curious now. Yeah, I'd have to scroll down to lower time frames, down to 4 hour, I'm sure, right here. But anyways, price is currently finding, it looks like a short-term bottom. I don't know if this is quote-unquote the bottom for DOT. I mean, it still doesn't really look like it's any sort of trend change. I think that we would need to see some sort of long accumulation pattern before we can call this, some sort of low. But for now, I think that this looks neutral, but I don't really necessarily think this is anything you have to buy. Maybe short-term, if Bitcoin does well, then I think maybe obviously DOT will follow, as with every other altcoin. But I don't necessarily see this as a necessary coin that you need to really buy. Sure, fundamentals are fine, but again, don't know if this is quite the quote unquote bottom yet. But that's still okay. I mean, there's still good trading opportunities. It could certainly make its way back up to this high $8 area. And coins like this, I do think are decent candidates for doing okay because eventually, because I think that this one fell really, really hard relative to some of the other coins in the market. I mean, basically, yeah, it went from 55. So this is another coin that's heralded strong project that went negative 90%. So overall, just really, this is not unusual relative to the rest of the altcoin market. Don't really think this is necessarily a must buy or anything like that, but it is looking like a short-term bottom is being found, in my opinion, and potential trade opportunity if you want. So how I would play this trade opportunity, like this type of price action actually really does look like a short-term bottom. Like you want to see something like this. I would consider longing around this area. Probably, I mean, there's a few ways you can play this. You can buy like a break and retest of 77.2, and then you would probably target maybe like this kind of 830 area. So you would, if you wanted to play this setup, you would probably take kind of here, and then the problem with this is your invalidation is a little bit confusing. Like you don't know necessarily where you're invalidated at. Like this is a decent setup, I suppose, but again, like there's so much bullshit price action here between 650 and like $7 that price could still find like some sort of support down here, and like you would get stopped out. So, you could maybe take a 2-to-1 like around here and just buy the break and retest and just hold below this kind of consolidation area. But there's a lot of different ways you can play it. Like, you could also you could just like wait and be patient and long like low sixes, and then keep higher price targets. So this to me would be a lot cleaner, because your invalidation is much more clear to me. Like you could even hold this, and then like you could target, like you could start taking profit around 730, and then like you can take some profit here at like 780, and then again finally at like 850. It depends. There's a lot of different ways you can play these swing trades, and it really just depends on your trading style and what you like. But yeah, don't just like look to your favorite influencer and just copy trade. Like there's a lot of ways you can do it, is what I'm trying to say. And I think lastly, I want to check out Chainlink. Chainlink looks decent, actually. To me, this looks like it's still a bearish market structure. Don't get me wrong, but this type of price action is what you want to look for like accumulation. You'll notice that there's not much volatility. Like in terms of the candles, there's not like crazy moves in either direction. Like you're kind of getting these smaller candles lately. Highish sell and buy volume too, which usually means some sort of trend change is coming in both directions. And yeah, I think that Link is actually one you could consider accumulating in this range from 550 all the way down, 550 to like $7 or whatever, anywhere along this area. I do think that price trades in this range for quite some time, between $5 and $9. But like not really ready to call like a bottom quite yet, but it does look like it's short-term accumulating to me. And it looks like it's been chopping around too for several months now, or not several months, but almost 2 months now. So definitely something to keep in mind. I do think that this looks okay though, and some of the higher time frame EMAs still not looking that great, but this one is one that fell so strongly relative to where it was before that it is something that you can consider. Like, it never recovered from May. It's not like Luna or Solana or AVAX where those had like very strong runs after the market dumped in May. This one just never recovered. Like it tapped up a few times. Even when Bitcoin made all-time high levels, it never could get close to all-time high levels. It was $35 and still never got close. So, and I actually made a mistake too. I remember buying this one, assuming that it would actually do pretty well. I think I bought it like maybe $25 or something like that. But then I think I waited for this to come down, and then I dumped it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I bought it. I bought it in August 2021, and I saw everything else flying up, and then I basically cut it for break even. I think like it wasn't good. It wasn't a good trade. Anyways, that was off topic. I think that this is like looking pretty reasonable on lower time frame charts. Similar to the other coins, I think that maybe we could potentially be seeing some sort of trend change where like the red EMA, the 200, is acting as, it's continuing to act as resistance if you look at its previous price history. but this will eventually flip, in my opinion. Especially like and EMAs are all lagging indicators too. So, like if we see a big strong move up, then it's going to flip support. But the EMAs, in my opinion, are much healthier now than what they were back in like June, early June, where we see this large gap between price and the lagging EMA. So, looks much better now when everything's starting to clump together and consolidate. Anyways, those are kind of my overall thoughts on some of these altcoins. Thank you so much for the support, and talk to you guys soon.